Hey, it's Don. Welcome to Don't Worry, I'm Finite. We're going to get into some bonus content, some extra video from my chat with Katie Askegaard here. First, I wanted to thank everyone who entered the contest to win a copy of Kristen Lajeunesse book, Will Travel for Vegan Food. The two winners have been chosen by random wheel, and put the names below, and I'll be contacting you and sending out your book very soon, so thanks for joining. So make sure you're always checking at Don't Worry I'm Finite on Instagram for upcoming contests. We have some good ones coming up that I'm very excited about. But today, I want to share some extra bonus video from my conversation with Katie Askegaard. She has a great way of starting conversations that allow you to come to your own conclusions and ask yourself questions. So it doesn't feel like she's leading you in one place or the other. She asks you to examine the evidence with her. And she's really interested in how people think. So I just want to share with you a little extra. And if you haven't heard the episode yet, go over to wherever you get your podcasts and search for Don't Worry I'm Finite, or go to anchor.fm/Don't Worry I'm Finite for all of the podcast hosts. I'll put all the links down below. Enjoy the episode. So you did say earlier that you feel like you were bad with words. So you were dancing. So I find it interesting that you ended up being pretty much a writer in my eyes. Like one of the main things you are as a writer. So how did that come out of like trying to challenge yourself to do that, or did you have a desire to write but you didn't feel like you were good at the start, or what?
So I've always loved writing. I also have a degree in economics, and through that studying, it was a lot of research and a lot of thought and a lot of papers. And I found that I kind of have a knack for synthesizing sources into something that people can understand. So I say I'm bad with words, but maybe it's more so verbal words. I need time to sift through everything in my brain, and writing is a great way to put it all together.
Totally. Yeah, and some of the and it really shows in the way that you write that you are, very specific and logical about the way that you and methodical about the way that you go through your research, because
Thank you.
you look at it from both sides, you look at issues from multiple angles, and you pull the resources and you share them with your audience, which I think is really helpful to help people, especially in a time when we're finding it hard to believe anything we read online, which I believe
Yeah.
at least one of your articles is about.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's been like a big part of the conversation that you've been holding on your site and on your social media, is about like, how do we find real information? How do we sift
Right.
through it? And how do we know what to believe and have these conversations with people that we disagree with? So I think you're doing a great job at putting that stuff out there, the information in the first place, but also starting the conversation from a place of, I want to hear what you think. So
Yeah, I think that everybody wants to be heard, but not everybody wants to listen. And I like creating a conversation that makes people feel comfortable sharing what they think. And I think that when you start to examine your own thoughts in a safe space, you start to see where your biases are and where maybe your logic is falling short. I think sometimes it just takes the self-examination, and I like to provide sparks for people to get there. Yeah.
so what have you had any like really, really good conversations that have come from your posts? Have you had any like bad pushback from it? What's the reception been like?
Really positive. I have found, especially in the artist community, we have all shared a lot of the same experiences, but yet we often feel so alone. And there's a couple posts I've done, especially about like, how do you cope with where your future is headed, and things along those lines that people have said, oh, like, this is exactly what I'm thinking. Like, thank you for making me feel not alone. And that felt very powerful. Um, I haven't really gotten too many pushback. I try to really examine everything to be sure that I'm not acting out of emotion or offending anybody. So no pushback yet, which is good.
That is good. And how do you feel about, and I think this was a bullet point in one of your posts about this, but so how do you feel about talking into an echo chamber, or only talking to the people who already kind of agree with you? How do we speak to the people who don't agree with us when we it's hard to catch their ear when they just block us and they choose their own news source. You know what I mean?
It's hard because, it's confirmation bias. We surround ourselves with people who have the same views, and it's surprisingly hard to find people who don't have those views. And I have found like talking to strangers is probably a really great way. Like when people say, oh, do you have a minute? Like with a survey, I'm like, yes, I do have a minute. Like, let's have a conversation. And in regards to harder conversations when I don't necessarily agree, I like to ask a lot of questions. I like to prompt, because people, like, if you just tell someone how to think, they're never going to think that way. But if you lead someone to come to the end result on their own, that creates meaningful change. So coming up with questions to make people have their own revelations that I kind of push them towards is the goal. One motto that has really stuck with me is that the result's only as positive as your attitude.
Nice.
I think not only in guiding the decisions you make, but how you handle what's thrown at you. I think if you have a positive attitude, it just makes you happier, and it often just leads to a better outcome.
That's awesome. I love that. But I do remember going through iTunes and changing all that stuff when I would like rip a CD back in the day.
Those are the days. I miss those. It was fun making CDs for people.
I liked making CDs for people. I don't miss having like to track down CDs of bands that are hard to find, like Wild Thing. Is it Wild Things or Wild Child?
Wild Child, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it might be hard to find their CD if I didn't go to their show.
Yeah.
She would feel the same when I have 19 tabs open and like 2,000 email messages in with a little red dot on my phone.
I am the same as you. Jeremy also doesn't get it, but I'm like, trust me, it makes sense.
Like it all makes sense to me. I know what to ignore. It's like when when your place is a mess and then you go to clean it up, and once you clean it up, you don't know where anything is.
Totally. I don't know if you feel this way. Like I am very organized in my professional life, but like all my things are not organized at all. And I feel like if I was organized in every facet, I would just go crazy.
That's funny.